You see a smile, and you think everything is fine. That's the biggest illusion people believe. The loudest laughter often comes from the soul that's been screaming in silence for years. People applaud confidence, but never notice the battles fought behind closed doors. They judge the face, not the scars hidden beneath it. Every "I'm okay" is another mask, every smile another shield, and every joke another desperate attempt to keep the darkness from swallowing what's left inside. Some people don't hide because they're strong. They hide because no one ever stayed long enough to understand their pain. A smile is the easiest lie anyone can believe. It costs nothing to wear, yet it hides everything that truly matters. People see a face that laughs, a voice that jokes, a person who seems impossible to break. They assume happiness because they only trust what their eyes can see. Nobody asks what happens after the laughter fades, when the room becomes silent, when the lights go out, and when there is no audience left to impress. That's where the truth lives. That's where the pain waits patiently. The world has an interesting habit. It celebrates people who can smile through anything, but it never wonders why they had to learn that skill in the first place. A person doesn't become emotionally untouchable overnight. Every fake smile is built from disappointment. Every calm expression is shaped by betrayal. Every confident laugh is stitched together with moments that almost destroyed the person wearing it. People think pain always looks dramatic. They imagine tears, broken voices, desperate cries for help. Real pain rarely introduces itself that way. Sometimes it wears expensive clothes. Sometimes it tells the funniest jokes in the room. Sometimes it encourages everyone else, while secretly wishing someone would ask if it's doing okay. The deepest wounds don't always bleed where people can see them. Everyone notices when someone is angry. Everyone reacts when someone loses control. But almost nobody notices the person who quietly keeps carrying impossible weight every single day. They wake up, put on a smile, complete their responsibilities, make other people laugh, and return home feeling completely invisible. The performance becomes so convincing that even they begin forgetting what their real face looks like. People are quick to admire strength without understanding the price that was paid for it. They say, "You're so strong," as if strength was a gift. They never realize that strength was forced upon someone who had no other choice. They confuse survival with confidence. They mistake silence for peace. They think emotional control means there is no storm inside, while beneath the surface, everything is falling apart. There comes a point where pretending becomes easier than explaining. Explaining your pain requires someone willing to listen, and experience teaches that most people only listen long enough to prepare their own response. So the smile stays, the jokes continue, the conversations remain light, because it's exhausting trying to convince people that invisible wounds hurt just as much as visible ones. It's strange how society rewards people for hiding their struggles. Show your pain, and you're called weak. Hide your pain, and you're admired for your resilience. The mask becomes more valuable than the face underneath it. Eventually, people stop recognizing the difference between the two. They fall in love with the version of you that never complains, never breaks, never asks for help. They applaud the character while ignoring the human being trapped behind it. Every smile can become armor. Every laugh can become another brick in a wall built to keep the world away. Not because the world is always cruel, but because disappointment, repeated enough times, teaches the heart to expect nothing different. Trust becomes dangerous. Vulnerability becomes expensive. Hope becomes a gamble that rarely pays back. Some people don't smile because life is beautiful. They smile because if they stop, everything they've been holding back might finally escape. The grin isn't happiness. It's self-control. It's discipline. It's the final barrier standing between the world they show everyone and the chaos they fight every single day. Behind that calm expression lives every insult that was never forgotten, every betrayal that still echoes, every dream that quietly died, every lonely night that nobody witnessed, every scar that never received an apology, every broken promise that slowly turned innocence into suspicion, and every silent scream buried so deeply that even the person carrying it no longer remembers what peace ever felt like. The most convincing mask is the one nobody questions. Wear it long enough, and people stop looking beyond it. They become comfortable with the version of you that smiles, jokes, and agrees and pretends everything is perfectly fine. They never wonder what it takes to keep that mask from cracking. They only admire how well it fits. People don't usually see who you are. They see who makes them feel comfortable. If your pain is invisible, they assume it doesn't exist. If your smile is convincing, they assume your heart is at peace. Reality has never depended on appearances. Yet appearances are all most people choose to believe. A calm face can hide a storm powerful enough to destroy everything inside, and no one notices because storms that happen in silence don't make headlines. There is a strange freedom in wearing a mask. Behind it, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to answer difficult questions. You don't have to watch people give you sympathy for a few minutes before they return to their own lives. The mask protects you from judgment, but it also traps you. Every day it becomes heavier, and every smile becomes another layer between who you really are and who the world believes you to be. The frightening part isn't pretending. The frightening part is becoming so good at pretending that even you begin to forget what honesty feels like. You laugh when nothing is funny. You say you're fine before anyone even asks. You apologize for emotions you never had the chance to express. Eventually, the performance becomes automatic. You stop acting because the mask has become your identity. The world rewards the performance. People call you positive. They admire your confidence. They say they wish they had your strength. None of them realize they're applauding the walls you've built around yourself. They celebrate your ability to hide the damage instead of asking what caused it. They compliment the mask because the truth underneath makes them uncomfortable. Not everyone wears a mask to deceive others. Some wear it to survive another day. There are battles that words cannot describe. There are memories that refuse to disappear. There are disappointments that quietly reshape a person until they no longer recognize themselves. The mask isn't always a lie. Sometimes it's the only thing holding together someone who feels like they're falling apart. People often say, just be yourself. Simple words from people who have never learned that being yourself can be dangerous. Sometimes the real version of you was ignored. Sometimes it was laughed at, betrayed, abandoned, or treated like it wasn't enough. After enough disappointment, authenticity begins to feel like a risk, and pretending feels safer than hoping someone will finally understand. The irony is that everyone claims to value honesty, yet they become uncomfortable the moment honesty reveals pain instead of happiness. They ask how you're doing, but they only expect one answer. They want smiles, not scars. They want confidence, not confusion. They want the polished version. Because broken things remind them that life isn't as stable as they pretend it is. A mask doesn't erase suffering. It only hides it from people who were never looking closely enough. Beneath every forced smile can exist countless sleepless nights. Beneath every calm conversation can live endless overthinking. Beneath every confident step can be someone terrified of falling apart the second they're left alone. Some masks are made of confidence. Others are made of humor. Some hide behind success, while others disappear into silence. Every person chooses different colors, different expressions, different ways to convince the world that nothing is wrong. Yet every mask serves the same purpose: to keep fragile pieces from being exposed to people who mistake vulnerability for weakness. Eventually, people become attached to the illusion you've created. They expect you to keep smiling. They expect you to stay strong. They expect you to carry everyone's burdens while quietly ignoring your own. The moment the mask slips, they don't ask what happened. They ask what changed, as if the pain suddenly appeared instead of existing all along, hidden beneath every smile, every laugh, every polite conversation, every reassuring word, waiting for someone willing to look beyond the face and notice the soul that had been silently breaking from the very beginning. The loudest battles are rarely the hardest ones. The hardest battles happen where no applause exists, where no witnesses stand, where no one knows a war is being fought. They happen inside a mind that refuses to rest, inside a heart that keeps collecting wounds it never asked for, inside a soul that has learned to bleed without making a sound. The world only notices broken bones, but it almost never notices a broken spirit. Every morning begins with a choice that nobody else sees. Get up or give up. Smile or surrender. Speak or stay silent. People think waking up is automatic, but for someone carrying invisible pain, even opening their eyes can feel like lifting a mountain. Still, they rise. They wash their face, wear confidence like clothing, and walk into a world that has no idea how much strength it took just to survive another sunrise. There are conversations happening inside the mind that never reach another person's ears. One voice says to keep going. Another whispers that nothing will ever change. One tries to believe tomorrow will be different. Another keeps replaying every failure, every rejection, every betrayal as proof that hope is nothing more than another beautiful lie. The outside world hears laughter while the inside world echoes with endless arguments that never seem to end. People often assume silence means peace. They couldn't be more wrong. Silence is where memories become louder. Every mistake returns. Every insult repeats itself. Every moment of regret plays, like a film that refuses to stop. The mind becomes a prison where every thought knows exactly how to hurt the person carrying it. No chains are visible, yet escape feels impossible. Some battles are fought against loneliness, even in crowded rooms. You can stand surrounded by hundreds of people and still feel completely invisible. Faces come and go. Conversations begin and end. Everyone is present physically, but no one truly sees what is happening behind your eyes. Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of understanding. Then comes the battle against expectations. The pressure to remain strong. The pressure to never disappoint. The pressure to always be the one who holds everything together while quietly falling apart inside. People depend on the version of you that never breaks, so you convince yourself breaking is no longer an option. Every day becomes another performance where exhaustion must never be visible. Trust becomes another battlefield. Every betrayal teaches caution. Every broken promise builds another wall. Eventually, kindness starts looking suspicious. Compliments sound temporary. Love feels conditional. You begin questioning every smile directed toward you because experience has taught you that not every friendly face stays friendly when circumstances change. The cruelest battles leave no scars anyone can photograph. Anxiety doesn't announce itself before entering the room. Regret doesn't ask permission before taking over the night. Fear doesn't care how confident you appear during the day. They arrive quietly, settle deeply, and slowly convince you that you're fighting enemies nobody else can even see. Some nights become endless. Sleep disappears because the mind refuses to stop working. Thoughts multiply faster than answers. Every possibility feels dangerous. Every decision feels wrong. Hours pass while the world rests peacefully, yet inside your head, the war continues without mercy. Morning eventually arrives, and somehow you're expected to function as though nothing happened. People admire resilience, without realizing how exhausting it becomes. Constant survival isn't living. It's simply refusing to collapse. Smiling through pain doesn't erase pain. It only delays the moment when everything hidden demands to be felt. Every burden carried in silence grows heavier with time. Yet, many continue carrying it because they've forgotten what it feels like to put it down. The greatest illusion is believing that someone who never complains has nothing to complain about. Some people have simply learned that explaining their pain changes nothing. They stop asking for help because disappointment has answered too many times before. They stop expecting understanding because misunderstanding has become familiar. They continue walking through life with steady footsteps, while inside, every emotion is fighting for space. Every memory refuses to fade. Every disappointment keeps adding weight to an already exhausted soul, and every silent victory over another impossible day remains completely unseen by the world around them. People love talking about strength as if it is something beautiful. They imagine confidence, courage, and fearless determination. They admire those who never seem to break, never seem to cry, never seem to lose control. What they fail to understand is that real strength is rarely born from comfort. It is forged in moments when life leaves you with no choice but to survive. Nobody chooses to become strong. Strength is often the result of being abandoned by every other option. There was a time when trusting people felt natural. There was a time when hope came easily and kindness wasn't questioned. Then reality arrived without warning. Every betrayal carved a lesson into the heart. Every broken promise erased another piece of innocence. Every disappointment quietly changed the way the world looked. The person who once believed in happy endings slowly learned that some stories only teach you how to endure. Pain has a strange way of changing people. At first it hurts, then it confuses. After that, it teaches. Eventually, it transforms. The person who once searched for acceptance begins relying only on themselves. The person who feared loneliness discovers that solitude hurts less than fake loyalty. The person who once expected honesty learns to recognize deception before it speaks. Suffering becomes a teacher that never asks for permission before giving another lesson. People often mistake emotional distance for arrogance. They think silence means pride. They assume caution is coldness. They never consider that every wall was built by experience, not imagination. Nobody wakes up one morning deciding to stop trusting the world. That decision is made slowly, one disappointment at a time, until protecting your peace becomes more important than pleasing everyone around you. The strongest people are not fearless. They simply become familiar with fear. They carry it every day until it no longer controls their decisions. They continue walking even when uncertainty follows every step. Courage isn't the absence of pain. It's the refusal to let pain become the only voice that speaks. Every scar becomes proof that destruction failed to finish what it started. There are moments when life strips away everything you believed defined you. Relationships disappear, dreams collapse, expectations shatter. The future becomes uncertain. In those moments, something unexpected begins to grow. Not happiness, not peace. Something far more dangerous, adaptation. The ability to survive without the things you once believed you couldn't live without. That's where true resilience is born. The world respects results, but ignores the process. People see confidence today without knowing the nights filled with doubt. They see calmness without witnessing the storms that created it. They admire discipline without understanding the chaos it replaced. Everyone notices the finished sculpture. Almost nobody thinks about the countless strikes of the hammer that gave it shape. Some people become stronger because someone believed in them. Others become stronger because nobody did. They learn to stand because nobody offered a hand. They learn to fight because nobody came to rescue them. They learn to smile because tears solved nothing. Independence wasn't a personality trait. It became a survival instinct created by repeated disappointment. Every hardship leaves behind two choices: become bitter or become wiser. Some allow pain to poison everything they touch. Others allow pain to sharpen their understanding of people, life, and themselves. The wound remains, but instead of becoming a prison, it becomes a reminder that surviving impossible moments is already proof of hidden strength. The strongest minds don't seek revenge against every person who hurt them. They understand that life eventually reveals everyone's true nature. Time exposes lies. Actions uncover intentions. Masks eventually fall without anyone needing to pull them away. That understanding creates a different kind of power, huh? One that no longer wastes energy chasing validation or proving worth to people who never intended to appreciate it. Strength born from suffering doesn't make someone invincible. It makes them aware that nothing lasts forever, aware that people change when circumstances change, aware that peace is more valuable than approval, aware that silence often speaks louder than arguments, aware that every scar carries a lesson, written in pain instead of ink. Every setback hides another opportunity to rebuild. Every betrayal teaches the value of loyalty. Every lonely night strengthens the ability to stand alone. And every struggle shapes a person into someone the world mistakes for unbreakable, never realizing they were simply rebuilt from pieces everyone else thought would never fit together again. Here's the expanded version of Keynote 5, Turning Pain into Power, in a dark, psychological, cinematic style, without mentioning the character, without headings, and without a concluding sentence. Pain changes everyone. The only question is what it changes you into. Some people allow it to destroy them. Others allow it to define them. A few decide to reshape it into something the world never expected. They stop running from their scars and begin carrying them like reminders that survival is possible. The same pain that once made them feel powerless slowly becomes the reason they refuse to be controlled ever again. Life has an interesting way of breaking illusions before it builds strength. It takes away comfort so you can discover endurance. It takes away certainty so you can learn adaptation. It removes people you thought would stay forever, forcing you to realize that dependence is one of the easiest ways to lose yourself. Every loss feels like punishment until one day you understand it was preparing you for a version of yourself that comfort could never create. The greatest transformation doesn't happen when life becomes easier. It happens when you stop expecting life to be fair. The moment you accept that disappointment is part of existence, it loses some of its power over you. You stop wasting energy asking why terrible things happened and begin asking what those experiences taught you. That single shift changes everything. Victims wait for rescue. Survivors build their own escape. People often believe confidence comes from success. In reality, confidence is usually built from failure. Every mistake teaches something victory never could. Every rejection removes another fear. Every betrayal sharpens your ability to recognize truth hidden behind charming words. Every painful chapter forces another illusion to disappear until all that remains is reality. Reality may not always be beautiful, but it is honest. There comes a moment when pain stops feeling like an enemy, not because it disappears, but because you finally understand its purpose. It exposes fake friendships. It reveals weak foundations. It uncovers false expectations. It strips away everything that was never real to begin with. What remains may be smaller than before, but it is infinitely stronger because it is built on truth instead of fantasy. Some people spend their lives trying to erase their past. They hide every scar as though it represents failure. They don't realize that scars are evidence of survival, not defeat. Every mark tells a story that could have ended differently. Every wound that healed became proof that destruction wasn't powerful enough to finish the job. There is something terrifying about a person who has already faced their darkest moments and kept walking. The world expects suffering to make people weaker. Sometimes it creates the opposite. It creates someone who no longer fears losing everything because they already have. It creates someone who isn't easily manipulated by promises because experience taught them actions matter more than words. It creates someone who understands that peace cannot be given by other people because it must first be built within. Power isn't becoming emotionless. Power is refusing to let emotions become chains. Anger becomes discipline. Fear becomes awareness. Loneliness becomes independence. Betrayal becomes wisdom. Failure becomes experience. Every painful emotion contains energy. The difference lies in whether that energy is allowed to destroy you or whether you reshape it into something capable of moving you forward. The strongest revenge against suffering is not becoming cruel. It is becoming impossible to control. When pain no longer dictates your decisions, when disappointment no longer steals your hope, when rejection no longer defines your value, you become something life struggles to break. Not because you're immune to hardship, but because you've learned that every storm eventually passes while the lessons remain. People who underestimated you often expect your pain to become your ending. They wait for you to collapse beneath the weight of your own struggles. They assume every setback brings you closer to defeat. What they never expect is that every obstacle quietly teaches another skill, another lesson, another layer of resilience. While they celebrate too early, you're rebuilding yourself in silence, becoming someone they would never recognize. Real power isn't found in pretending you've never suffered. It is found in standing in front of your darkest memories without allowing them to decide your future. It is choosing growth over resentment, wisdom over revenge, discipline over despair, purpose over self-pity, and determination over fear, until the very pain that once tried to bury you becomes the foundation beneath every step you take, every decision you make, every dream you rebuild, every challenge you overcome, and every silent victory that proves broken things can become stronger than they were before they ever fell apart.